Okay, so this is my Commodore VIC-20. I figured I'd do a little video demonstration. I don't know why, because I felt like it. This is a later production version of the VIC-20, and you can tell because the keyboard is a Commodore 64 style keyboard. Older versions had a different colored keyboard. You can also tell because the power input is a round 7-pin DIN input. Older versions had a 2-prong input. The control port is where you plug in a joystick. Later on the 64 and 128, they had a mouse you would plug into here. Of course, the on switch. This is the cartridge port for games. It's physically different than the Commodore 64, so they're completely incompatible. One of these is the video. One of these is the serial bus, where you would attach printers and disk drives like the 1541. That's the cassette input. And that is the user port. A lot of RS-232 interfaces would use this. This is the power input. It has 4 pins. One is plus 5-volt DC, one is ground, and the other 2 are 9-volt AC. And you plug that into the side like that. Now you need some sort of video display. Originally you would plug these into your TV using something called an RF modulator. And if you've ever had a Atari 2600, you might be familiar with this. But I'm not going to use this because I have something better. I have a Magnavox monitor. This has 2 video inputs, one composite video input and one RGB input. And that actually made this a very nice monitor to use on the Commodore 128, because you could attach both 40 column and 80 column at the same time and use a switch down here to choose which one you want to display. Yeah, on the back, this is the composite video, this is audio, and this is RGB input, which is of course not being used. So I will turn it on and attach the video to the VIC. And there's nothing I can do about the screen flicker. And there you go. Ta-da! I'll write a small program. Keyboard's a little sticky, needs to be cleaned. There you go. Now, after writing a very long program like this, you often want a way to save it. You could get a disk drive, but disk drives are very expensive. So the most common way to do it was on the tape drive. And this uses regular audio tapes. They used to sell something called data quality tapes. I don't know if they actually had any difference. The major difference seemed to be that they were shorter. This is an hour long. Data quality was usually 5 or 10 minutes. Plus they either didn't have a leader or had a much shorter leader. And the leader is a pain because when you're saving data, you need to make sure you are past the leader. Loading from a tape doesn't matter, but saving to the tape matters. And you can see the tape coming through. So I'll back it off and plug it in. This is the PET style cassette tape. A little bit later on, they came out with a new style, which is the same thing, but in a different case. One of the more annoying things is if you collect Commodore computer equipment, they use the same part number, the C2N cassette, for this tape and for this tape. So if you want to get a tape drive, don't just look for C2N, you have to physically look for the different styles. And also annoying, on both of these, you'll see this metal strap. And the metal strap is for chassis ground. And that was great on the PET because the PET has a metal chassis and it had a screw dock for this. But the Commodore 64, the Commodore 128, and the Commodore VIC-20, they're all plastic. There's no metal chassis. So a lot of times you would just cut that off. So we'll connect the tape up. And you plug it into the back and it's keyed, so you can't get it upside down. And plug it into the back. Plug it over there. And then I'll move over to the monitor. So we'll write a short program. Oops. Next. And then you want to save that. You just type save. You don't have to give it a file name because it's a sequential device. You could if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Press play and record. And it says saving. And then very shortly it'll come back and say okay. It's a very fast process. And that's it. Now, after writing such a long program like that, you want to make sure that it actually saves to the tape correctly. The kernel tape routines, I think, wrote the program to it twice, but you still want to verify that. You would type verify. And that compares what's in memory to what's on the tape. And it's a very fast process. Before you can blink, it's done. I'm being sarcastic, because anybody who's ever had a long program to save or load from tape will know this. And verifying. Now, if the programs didn't match, you would get a error. Verify error. So you would know something is wrong. I mean, I deliberately made it error, but if you got that, you would save again. So now we'll load our program in the memory. List. And there's our program. One of the useful things about these tape drives is they have a counter. So what you would do is you would save your program, reset it to 0000, save your program, and then at the end you would write down the ending point. So that way you could save multiple programs to one tape. So you would say game 1 is at 0, game 2 is at 10, and so on. Now what I also have is a cartridge. This is a game cartridge. This is Radar Rat Race. This is actually the first game I ever owned. Not this exact cartridge, that one's long gone, but I bought this one on eBay for like $5. So I'm going to plug that in. But since it's a game, I'm going to use an old school Atari style joystick. I'll turn off the computer first. And the joystick plugs into the port like that. And the cartridge plugs into here. Like that. And then I'll go back to the monitor and turn it on. And this is Radar Rat Race. You have to find each of these green dots, which are cheeses. You'll have to avoid the mice who chase you, and you also have to avoid the stationary pads. So since I'm going to use, you can use the keyboard, but I'm going to use the joystick. And of course, I'm probably not very good at it. Game over. I obviously am not very good at the game. Anyways, that's that. Thank you for watching.